This is Wednesday, February the 24th. This is World History. Well, today we're going to look at Canada. And of all the governments we're going to look at, Canada is probably the most stable government outside of the United States. We know that the Americans are going to disagree with the British in 1776. They're going to declare their independence. By 1782, the Americans will have defeated the British. Now, did all colonists agree with the Americans? No. There were many who felt that the British were correct. And so those who called themselves loyalists, loyal to Britain, will pack up and they will move to Canada. Now, it is at this time that the British began to think of making the Canadians citizens of Great Britain. This had been one of the sticking points with the Americans that the British refused to budge on. During the American Revolution, the Loyalists go to Canada. Now, some 30 years later, the United States and Great Britain will fight a second war called the War of 1812. Now, Canada is going to be the site of several of the battles, particularly those battles that are fought for the Great Lakes. The Native Americans in the United States are going to flee to Canada because they feel safer in Canada than they do in the United States. In 1837, a representative of the Crown, Lord Durham, will travel to Canada with an understanding of what are some of the problems with the Canadians. When Durham gets back, he will propose to the British Parliament that the Canadians be admitted to Great Britain in a form of a commonwealth, and that they have a say in Parliament. Now, the way this works is pretty simple. If you are a Canadian citizen, then you are allowed to elect a representative to go to London and be a member of Parliament. This member can then tell Parliament what is on the minds of Canadians. Now, what about things that are happening in Canada? Well, because you're part of the Commonwealth, you are allowed to create your own legislative body. Now, you'll elect a prime minister, but still, the leader of your country is the current monarch of Great Britain, which in this case is Queen Elizabeth II. In 1840, the United States and Great Britain almost came to blows over the Oregon Territory. President Polk said that the United States would be happy if we could have Oregon and Washington. The British are going to take British Columbia. Polk will sign an agreement that will extend the border of the United States from the edge of Lake Superior all the way to the Pacific Ocean. This is the current border that we have today. The North American Act of 1864 is going to make Canada a dominion, a part of the United Kingdom. Now, as Great Britain got bigger, it allowed other territories to have a vote in Commonwealth. That's why it changed its name from Great Britain to United Kingdom. Called a dominion, the legislature in the capital would settle disputes that arose in the country. John Macdonald became the first Prime Minister of Canada. If a war were to break out and Great Britain was involved, then Canada would be obligated to send troops. If a war broke out in Canada, Great Britain would be obligated to send troops. In the 20th century, we see this in World War I and World War II. The British monarch would be the acting head of Canada. The Prime Minister of the Canadian House of Commons would be the Prime Minister. Canada has been at odds with itself over the last few years about the French-speaking part of Canada. Now, along the St. Lawrence River, originally was part of the colony of New France, and all of the people there speak French. Now, when the French lost the French and Indian War, they had to give this land to the British. Today, Canada officially speaks French in Quebec, which is a province of Canada. All the other places, they speak English. Wilfrid Laurier became the first French-speaking Canadian to be elected to Parliament in 1896. Now, today, there are those in Quebec who would like to see Quebec an independent nation, but that really has never caught on. Most Europeans will begin to immigrate to Canada. The population of Canada has been on the rise. By the start of the 20th century, a transcontinental railroad was built across Canada to connect the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean. This allowed for the farm produce in the interior of Canada to be brought to the ocean for transportation. Today, the border of Canada and the United States has many crossings with border agents, but there are no fences. Now, of course, with the COVID crisis, you cannot go from the United States into Canada, and you cannot go from Canada into the United States. If you do, you have to quarantine yourself for 14 days. That's why, for example, this year the Toronto Raptors are not playing in Toronto, Canada. This is why the NHL has divided its teams up into Canadians playing Canadians and Americans playing Americans. Well, this is the end of this lesson. Now, tomorrow we're going to watch a movie called Juarez. It's important that you bring your electronic devices. And then on Friday, we're going to have our quiz. Make sure that you keep track of your walkout worksheets. Many of these questions are going to be on the quiz on Friday. Make sure you know the various terms, the people involved. You should have 2 maps. Make sure you know about them as well.